Greetings and welcome to Stunthangar Video Hangouts. My name is Charles Carter and I'll be your host this evening. I want to extend to you my gratitude for you watching Stunthangar Video Hangouts. If you are watching this as a replay, I want you to know that I host these YouTube live streams every Monday and Friday evening starting at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please make a note of this so you can watch or be part of the live stream plus the following after party. Now, here at sometimes, pardon me, lost my word thought here for a second. Anyways, following a live stream, and which is sometimes better than the live stream portion. You must be a registered Stunthangar Forum member to find the link to be part of the live stream and the following after party. The after party has been tripping me up today. Here at Stunthangar Video Hangouts, we talk about building and flying model airplanes, sport flying, competition flying, and what you've been doing lately. To join our conversation, if you are already a member of Stunthangar Forum, you can find the link if you scroll down to the section called At the Bench. Now, if you're not a member or not logged into Stunthangar Forum, the At the Bench link will not appear. Now, if you're not a member, please register at stunthangar.com/SMF. That's Smart Men Flying. You must place a space between your real first and last name when you register. You must also use a valid email address or Sparky. The proprietor of Stunthangar will not approve you. If you're inclined to not come in, just enjoy watching this on YouTube, wonderful, fantastic. Please enter your questions or comments in the chat box, and I'll do my best to make your comments or questions a part of the show. Understand, sometimes I can't get a word in myself, so be patient, and I will ask our illustrious panel your question or state your comments. By the way, you only can make comments or ask questions during a live streams. Like I said earlier, I host these live streams every Monday and Friday, 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you find Stunthangar Video Hangouts that I host or the many building videos, flying, and contest videos that Sparky does on this platform informative and enjoyable, please give us a thumbs up. That's a like. Subscribe, and when you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that whenever Sparky or myself comes on in, you'll be notified. Also, share the videos, and comments also help the Stunthangar YouTube channel grow. Please consider joining Stunthangar's YouTube channel membership starting at just $4.99 a month, which is less than 17 cents a day. Now, I am a member myself. I have $4.99 come out of my checking account every month. I don't miss it. I'm not asking you to do something I don't do myself, so please support the channel. Please support the hobby, the sport. You can also use the super chat to support us, which is located in the bottom of the chat box to make donations. You only can do this during a live stream though, okay? So come on in, make a donation, and then come back later on and maybe watch the show at a more convenient time, okay? Now, your help helps offset some of the expenses of running Stunthangar. And with your memberships, you get special badges that I can see and Sparky can see in the YouTube chat box, and you get unlimited replay of member-only videos. And these videos are, you're not going to find them anywhere else. A lot of them are Al Raby videos. And once a month, Sparky has a question and answer show for members only. Now, this is Sparky's YouTube channel. I'm in here just twice a week. So if you want to get in touch with me, go to my YouTube channel, which is called Flying Control Line Stunt. That's Flying Control Line Stunt. All the letters are there, even if they're repeated. And place your comment or question on the 2019 AMA National Championship video, which Sparky shot of me flying his Junar, his beautiful Junar. And it is a good flying plane, by the way. I miss flying that plane. But by doing that, I'll be notified. So I don't get notified on Sparky's channel because it's Sparky's channel. So go to my channel to comment. Now, I am looking forward to some comments about what you want to see, what you want to hear, and then we can incorporate that in future shows. So please take that seriously. We want, this is 2022, want to improve the show, make it better than last year. So your suggestions, I will definitely read them. I want to thank you for your past, your present, and future support. You are making it happen. And please keep the conversations family room friendly. In other words, please don't use words or do things you wouldn't do or say around your own children and grandchildren. Without any further ado, I'm going to post the link at Stunthangar. Let me see. Okay, posted. And I'm also going to do this here also. Let me send this here. 1 second. I got to get this show set up. By the way, just a minute. There's always these details I have to do, and then we'll get rolling. Let's see here. Okay. Just bear with me a second here. All right, there we go. I'll send that. Okay. Now I'm going to go to what I call the control panel, and let's see what's going on there. I can see if the show is streaming, and hopefully it is. Let's see here. Maybe I go there. All right. I have 2 monitors, so you see me looking away, that's what I'm looking at. Actually, I have 3 monitors, so I'm trying to, come on, internet. I have teenagers at home, so they're encroaching on the bandwidth, so just bear with me. Hopefully we have a really good show. I have actually invited some people, and hopefully they get in here. And we'll be rolling in just a moment here. I'm in what I call the control panel now, so just a few more clicks and stuff, and we'll be off to the races. Hey, we got 12 concurrent viewers right now. Thank you so much. 14 concurrent viewers, only 6 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, please give me some grace and give me a like in spite of me. So thank you very much for doing that in advance. And I have Jack Snavely. He says, hi all around the world. And he has these airplane emojis, and there's some snowflakes and the globes. Very, very good. Thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate you coming in. You come in very often. I appreciate your support. And Marcel Legrand, he says, evening, Charles, and everybody. Hope all is well. All is well here. And thank you, Marcel Legrand, for coming in. And it looks like Gary Sinclair is his audio is hooking up, and he'll be in here in a short. So anyways, I hope everyone's doing well, and I'm looking forward to having a very good show this evening, and every evening, by the way. Hey, Gary, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. We just had 8 inches of snow last night.
8 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Wow. You can keep all that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no snow out here. Actually, I was gonna go flying today. I could have if I wouldn't have been so slow getting out of the house. By the time I really got going, it actually was raining, but I had a window and I missed the window of opportunity to go flying today. And this is the first time I haven't gone flying on Martin Luther King's holiday. I usually make it a point to go on Martin Luther King's birthday or holiday. So I'm very disappointed, but you know, life gets in the way, right? Sometimes of doing what we want to do. We gotta do what we have to do.
Yeah, time goes.
And Eddie, I think Eddie, I'm hoping this is Eddie Sutter or someone else. That'd be great. I just see the name Eddie. Don't know who this is. Hey, Eddie, how you doing?
Hey, doing all right.
Good. How you doing? Feeling?
I'm good.
Good. Awesome.
Been a while since you've been here.
Yeah, I've had some stuff going on. I finally got a break to get on. I've been watching every now and then on YouTube when I could, but throw my thumbs up and head on out.
I appreciate that. You're in a different space Normally your space looks different.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. I'm in my dad's basement right now.
Very nice. And Walter Moore is in the house. Hi, Walter.
Hey, Charles, how are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Thanks for coming in, you guys. I appreciate it immensely.
I got me a new toy.
Well, let me make you big so I can show the world. All right, you're big, man. Oh, wow. A British SE5. Wow. Very nice.
It's a Sterling, so
Yeah.
it's not very big.
nice.
It's a 32-inch wingspan with for a 35, but I got enough redheads I can put on there to do it. Now, also, I've been working on this. I don't know if y'all can see it or not.
Oh, interesting. That's going to be an airplane holder of some sort.
Yeah, it'll go in. I've got. Oh, let me get these. Hush. These little 45 pieces will go on the
Oh,
bottom like that. Okay. And then I'll build a wooden pallet, like it's going to be about 2 feet wide and roughly 5.5 feet long. And I'll drill holes that these will go in.
right.
And it sits at a 45-degree angle. And I can take 7 airplanes with me to the field in the back of my truck.
Oh, very good. Yeah, right now I can take I can take two big stunners and a regular classic ship and a combat plane right now. That's when
Yeah.
I totally fill my Blazer. But that's how I do it. And I have a apparatus similar to that. I got the idea from saw an image of trying to remember the gentleman's name, but his inspiration came from his picture. So did you have inspiration from someone else, or that was your own idea, the way you did that?
No, I just came up with the idea. I also use the PVC to hang my airplanes from the ceiling, but the way this will work is, I've got the skid will be like this, and when I pull it out of my truck, one side will be in the truck and it'll drop down to the ground like this, and then the planes will all be stacked up. So I just take one off the rack, fly it, crash it, throw it in the bag, and put it back in the truck and grab another one.
Very, very nice. Very, very good. I see Tryon came in. Thank you, Tryon, for coming in. I appreciate that. Very cool, Eddie. Thanks for showing that.
Yeah, I got a message come in. I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good. So, Walter, long time no talk to you, right?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Now, when I was
So-
talking to you, I heard you moving some sandpaper across some wood, I assume.
Today or when we talked,
When we talked on the phone.
I'm working on I've got a profile Nobler downstairs, and I've got about 2 or 3 Vector 40s I'm putting together for next spring, summer. I noticed that it seems to be getting harder to find engines, and in my humble opinion, there seems to be a problem with the hobby right now. I don't know. But
Well, you think you're looking for what size motors? What size?
well, the Vector 40s is one I'm dealing with, as well as the Nobler, and it's taking a 40 size, I guess, 35 to 40 size engines.
Let's go
And Broda-
electric, man.
That
Let's go electric.
I like the idea of going electric, and I personally think that electric is the most competitive. But I still have that desire to hear that engine.
If you're not
Yeah,
wanting to do it, if you're not wanting to do it, just go to eBay.
I know, but they're all used. There's a problem with there's a problem. I perceive a problem with the sport, and I don't know how much longer. Let's think of yourself as a young man in the 13, 14-year-old range, which is a lot of times where we got started.
Yeah.
You can't just go to the hobby shop now and find an engine there, and there aren't any hobby shops left in my area.
Yep.
So everything has to be found online, and it seems to me like everything I'm finding, except now there's stock around and others that some of you guys more experienced know about, but it's hard to find an engine.
Yeah, it is. But there's a website. Maybe I'll turn you on to it. It's called Control Line Parts. I'm sorry I didn't mention this when we talked, because I actually placed an order today. But these are stocker motors. It's called controllineparts.com. And
Okay.
I think they have 40 sizes and up. I've been buying I purchased 2 of their stocker 81s.
Mhm.
But they have smaller motors too. And they also have I think they have a rear exhaust 40, which you might like. It keeps the exhaust off the wings, and it's just a one paper towel cleanup when you get done flying. And they're
That's
very good.
exhaust out the bottom of the fuselage usually.
Yeah. So you check them out. Control Line Parts,
I will.
Stocker,
Yeah, stalkers are good.
and they're good motors.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't Tom Dixon sell those 40?
Yeah, he sells a 40. The only problem with the Tom Dixon 40 and 46 is he says they don't run very well on their sides. So they'd be great in a vector, but I probably wouldn't want to run it on a profile.
okay.
Okay, that's just what Tom says. Now, there may be guys who know how to do it, who know how to set them up. I don't know, but I've talked to Tom, and he said the Vector 40 and the 46 are great motors, but they don't seem to like to run very well on their side. They like to run either right side up or inverted.
Okay. That's info. Now,
Okay.
I don't know if just check out Control Line Parts. Check out Tom Dixon. I know that I think all the motors there are on Control Line Parts. I don't know if Tom Dixon has ever sold an 81. I don't think he's ever sold an 81. So I think there might be something there. Yes, Walter?
Charles, I'd like to have your permission to talk about what we talked about on Sunday, and I don't want to bring it up unless you think it might be
Oh,
appropriate.
I think it's a very intriguing subject. Yeah, go ahead. I was
When do you
hoping to wait
think
for
it's
Dennis Adamison to come in. He might have some
Should we
history
wait?
on that.
Should we wait a few minutes then?
Let's see if Dennis Adamison comes out. I'd like to see what his take is on it, because I'm just wondering how much has been done, what has been done in the past.
Okay.
But yeah, let's see what happens. And then hey, Brendan, thanks for coming in, and Lynn Burrell, thank you for coming in, Lynn.
Hey guys, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Trey, what are you building there?
Huh?
What are you building?
It's a vector.
That's what I thought it was, but
I'll make you big, Tryon. You're big now.
okay.
This is a vector. I just finished the whole bottoms block. I have a cover here over the landing gear.
Nice. I like that.
Cool.
So the nice part of this is we have wires that come in here, the wires that can come in here. I have the accelerometers that are gonna sit over there. So it kind of gives me a nice access to the wires they're gonna come from underneath, because the ESC is gonna sit on the bottom here, right? And then I'm gonna have a nice access to the wires for the ESC. The nose area is finished. I have to just trim this a little bit here. Other than that, the plane is done. Pretty much done. But I just discovered that these flaps are a little bit bent. It's like they're still flat, but they kind of go like this, right?
Yeah.
They go straight and then they dip on one end, which is going to create some binding and stuff like that. And another thing I don't like about this is when I make this the horizontals. This section over here where the wire goes in, it's kind of weak and flimsy, and they don't stay aligned with the whole thing. So I'm going to change these parts here. I'm just going to change this to a sheet of a 1/4 inch. The same is for this one, and I think I'm going to change these flaps too. But as you can see, these are the molded tips that I made.
Oh, looks great.
And this is the other one that you saw me molding last time that we were talking together.
Very nice, Tryon.
That's pretty. Nice job.
And of course, this is molded top block. This is also molded. And also the bottom block is molded too. The whole thing weighs, I put it on a scale. It's 542 grams.
What's that in ounces, you know?
What's that in ounces?
Huh?
How
What
many
is that in
ounces?
ounces, do you think?
Just if you give me a second, I'll give you
Depends on how you measure an ounce. You go measure an ounce is 28 grams.
19.1, I
30.
think. $542. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Stay there.
All right.
19,
Well, you know,
that's
I
19 ounces.
Yeah, 542 divided by 28.35. Bam, there you go. 19.11 ounces
very nice.
for
Very
the
good.
plate.
Wow, that's gonna be a really light plane.
So with the wheels, that'd be about 3 more ounces, 2 ounces maybe. That's good. That's outstanding.
Yeah, this is with the, I mean, just the wheels are missing
Yeah,
here. And the
That's
tail
good.
wheel here.
yeah, and
because
the
it's
tail
already-
wheel, okay.
It's
Yeah, that's
basically
very good,
everything.
Tryon.
Huh?
That's very good. That's very
Yeah.
good weight.
That's as light as my Magician, well, actually lighter. My Magician's 22 ounces with the covering though. I've got the covering on.
So,
Well done.
so like you saw, it's in the past as well. You know, this is just a simple. Have a tongue on one side, double magnets on the back side.
Yeah.
It just goes in like that.
Done.
Boom. The side hatch also magnets. The battery is inserted in here. And that's that. I did weigh everything that goes in the nose, everything.
Okay.
The motor, spinner, propeller, and stuff like that. All the electronics, all the wiring, and it's that's another okay motor. It's 519 grams.
Very nice.
So 519 is, I mean, if weight means anything to you guys. 519 divided by 10. So it's 18.3 ounces plus
Of equipment, okay.
19.1. I'm at 37.4 ounces
Plus, then you have to cover it and finish it.
plus the covering and the wheels.
Okay.
Very nice. That'd be a very nice flying plane.
Good
Very
weight.
good.
Yeah.
Very
That's
good.
perfect. Should be just around 40 or a little more.
Very good, Tryon.
That's
Hey,
good.
give me
Well
a
done.
second. I want to introduce some people here that came in the chat
All right,
box.
thanks.
Hang on. Let me change my view here. Okay. Hey, John. Thanks for coming in, John.
Good to be here.
And this is David Hall, right? MC Slow. Is that you, David?
I see Eddie's here. Hi, Eddie.
What's up, John? How you? Looks
Been
like you're
miss-
feeling a lot better.
I am. I have been missing you, bud. Yeah.
I've had a lot going on. So I finally
Well, that's
made it.
good. Well, it's good you're here now.
I have
That's-
a picture, but no sound.
You weren't on just a second ago, but
Playing.
you got me a new toy.
Talking about it.
Ah, outstanding. You'll have
MC
fun with
Slow,
that.
can you tell me, can you type in your name? I believe you're David Hull, but I can't see below your nose. So I might kind of, now I can't see below your forehead.
Gilroy.
Uh,
Gilroy was here.
yes, that's David Hull. All right.
All right, so do we
I
have audio
understand-
going
I
the other way?
Oh, man, I can hear you now. Fantastic, David. Well, fantastic. John Miller,
Yeah.
thank you very much for coming in. And Philip is coming in. I see his Philip's iPad, but not his face yet. And David, do you know John Miller? Or and vice versa? Do you guys know each other?
I've heard the name. I don't think we've
Okay.
met.
I don't think I've had the honor or the pleasure to meet him yet. So
Yeah, well, you guys have both frequent Wood and Arrows, so just maybe it's just
Slow.
happenstance you guys have not crossed paths.
Hmm.
I met David John at Sepulveda Basin, I think the very first time, I think. Or it might have been Wood and Arrows. I don't know, but I know I've seen him in both places.
well, I've flown them both places, but it was some years back. So we may have crossed paths. I just, just don't recall it right now. That's the wages of getting old.
Yeah. Well, I gave David a call and I asked if he'd come in. So he came in as a favor to me, and hopefully he likes it and he'll come back. So,
Well, good.
and let me catch up on the chat box. Mark Lumen, he says, sent you a like, would have sent a love, but then people would talk. And he's has these emojis with laughing so much with tears. So he's cracking up, Well, I appreciate that, man. Love you too, man. I appreciate it. And Montana Farmer, he says, do any of you guys mix your own fuel? Well, I do. Anybody else mix their own fuel?
I've been buying the stuff to do it. So
All
Yeah,
right.
I got a buddy who actually mixes it, but I know the sequence of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what question do you have, Montana Farmer, regarding mixing your fuel? It's four of us. We'll have probably four different opinions. But, we'll get to the same percentage.
That's normal.
and then
So,
the Canadians are going to do it in liters. So
See, the four different opinions are go glow, go electric, go free flight, or don't
Or
play
hand
at
mod.
all. Yeah, that's right.
mod.
Yeah, or don't play at all.
Yeah, so Montana Farmer, type in your question about mixing fuel, because I don't know what exactly. But interesting thing is I had ordered off of eBay 1,000 milliliter graduated cylinder, and that took over a month to get through U.S. Customs. I think they were checking me out, trying to figure out if I was trying to build a bomb or what kind of person I was. So, so be careful on what you ask for. It might take a while to get it. So I use these graduated cylinders. I have 1,000 milliliter cylinder, graduated cylinder. I have a 500, a 250, and these help me, like the mad scientist. I mix my fuel. I usually buy methanol in a 5-gallon jug. Now, most of the fuel that I mix is FIA fuel. So I actually
No,
only have to-
FAI, not FIA,
I do
FAI.
that so often. Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
That's
Charles.
FIA, right?
No,
Oh,
FAI.
You see, the problem is I watch Formula One racing, and they have the FIA.
Oh, well, this
That is a like a legal body for.
So in model airplanes, you just have to remember A first. A.
Well, now you know why I mess up FAI.
Federation.
There's a much easier way,
Aero
Charles.
Modeling International.
What was that again, Dave?
Federation.
Whoa.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I think saying the same thing you were. We just got
Go
to
ahead.
teach Charles to speak French. As soon as he
Yeah.
says Fédération, right? Aviation International, you're set.
Yes. There we go.
Just-
Yeah.
You got to
That's
get
not
the
going to
French
happen
down.
though, Dave.
Federation
I think French is
Aero
romantic.
Modeling
I think
International.
French is
Yeah.
romantic, but I'm not going to do that.
I'm
Anyways,
still
but-
trying to learn English.
That's right, Phil. You
Yeah,
got
that's
it.
true. I gotta learn English also. So
I got-
Montana Farmer, he's responded, you guys. Montana Farmer says, what oil do you use? Straight castor or synthetic castor blend?
Depends on what you're running.
Absolutely.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, Montana Farmer, I'm usually mixing FAI fuel. And so I just use straight synthetic because my engines don't like castor. You know, there's some people out there that say you need to put a little bit of castor in there, Charles. I understand your point, but I just do straight synthetic and methanol, and that's how I do it. And typically what I do is I actually measure the oil first,
Yeah.
but as I add the methanol to my graduated cylinders, it cleans them out. So that's kind of my methodology is to do the oil
There you
first.
go.
It's so thick and viscous. What do you got there, John? You trying to get my
Well, this
attention?
is what I got one of those graduated cylinders like you got, but I bought two of these because I could take the mixed fuel and put them in here and mark what it is, and then it's not gonna gas off or anything at the field or anything like that. You know, I got enough for all days flying and maybe a little extra. But these aren't that expensive, but they sure are nice. They seal up nice and tight. You don't get any spillage or anything from them. So I got a couple of these bottles, and I got them through Amazon.
I think that's a great idea.
And you can see their name on them. They were like, I think $8 or $10, something like that for it. But it is a good idea. I've done it for years, but I haven't tried.
And they won't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. They won't exude nitro like plastic will.
No.
They won't.
No.
They won't migrate through it like the plastic does.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, John.
You should be able to have
Excellent
one of
idea.
those stood up for the whole season and not have any problems with your fuel.
That's a really
Yeah.
good idea because I've always taken the jug to the field and next thing I know, I'm looking in the jug and there's water droplets hanging off the jug and I'm like, oh no, this is a disaster.
Yeah.
Bad way to go.
Yep.
And when I use
tell you,
they call. Go ahead, Phil.
I'm sorry. It's all right. I was just going to say for any of you that don't know, or for, I'm still trying to figure out. I was going to get Michael to tell me the exact measurements to measure it for cc's to measure a gallon of 5%, 10%, because he's got all that stuff in his head. I don't know how he does it, but anyway, for years we used in our Fox 59s. I'm a believer in the Fox 59, along with Charlie Reeves, Tom Looper, and a bunch of us. We fly them on a lot of our old timers. In fact, I've got a hat that says "Old Timers Do It with Foxes," and I'm serious. I love the old Fox 59, but for years we did it with 5% nitro, all castor fuel. Well, last time I saw Charlie, he was here this past summer, and he says, I've learned something new you need to learn. So I said, okay, I'm always up for learning something. He had 10%. It's Charlie Reeves, if you wondered. He had, oh my goodness, here comes my dessert. Give me one. Give me. He had 10% night. It was 10% ice cream, y'all. I'm crazy, but I ain't stupid. It was 10% nitro, but it was 10-22. It was 10% nitro, 22% oil, but it was half castor, half synthetic. I've never run synthetic in a Fox 59. I thought that would clean it out and mess it up. But Charlie said, no, it runs cooler because have you ever run your Fox 59 and when you land, it sounds like it's sizzling? And I said, yeah, about every flight. So he says, well, try this. Well, I haven't tried it yet, but I watched Charlie's. And Charlie's flying a big job that is, the engine is really enclosed. And if it's going to get hot, it's going to get hot, that thing. And it landed and I went over, picked the airplane up to carry it back for him. And just, I can't smell, but I can smell heat. And I didn't hear any popping and crackling like his planes usually sounds like bacon sizzling. And it didn't. And I looked at the motor and it didn't sound that bad. So being half stupid, I decided to touch the cylinder because I mean, if you just touch it, you know it's really hot. It's hot. Man, that thing ain't hot. It wasn't hot.
That's awesome.
Very
So
nice.
I'm going to do that with mine this year. Mine will be running 1022, 11 caster, 11 synthetic, but that's in Fox 59. Now, when you run the
Hang on, Philip.
stalkers,
We have a loop going on. Hey, Paul, did you happen to have a tab open on your computer, YouTube tab by any chance?
No, I had it going on my phone, but I shut it off.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, thanks for coming in, Paul. Appreciate that. And Phil, go
Good
ahead
to
and
see
finish,
you again.
Phil.
I'm so scatterbrained. I about forgotten what I was going to say, but anyway,
We're talking about the Fox 59.
the 59 runs great on just 5%, but that 10%, I've watched Charlie fly for years. He's been my mentor with old timers since I got into it. And Lord, he's well, he and Tom Looper, but Tom's my I mean, if it weren't for Tom, I'd still be flying around in circles with a ringmaster just doing an occasional loop. But anyway, his motor just impressed the heck out of me that day. He said it was the same motor, so wasn't that 10% fuel and the addition of the castor and synthetic oil just ran so much better, and the motor just sounded so much better. I was trying to figure out what he'd done. It was just all he said he'd done is change the fuel. And
one thing to remember is that by bumping up the nitro, that's going to actually cool things off.
Oh yeah. I used to run around with a guy who ran a nitro dragster. I still have a good friend who runs a nitro motorcycle. I've never been to the track with him. Those things scare the bejeebers out of me. I'm always afraid he's going to lose a leg or something hitting the wall. I've hit the wall a bunch of times and tore up cars, but he ain't got nothing over there to protect him, and it scares the crap out of me. But anyway, the nitro cars, everybody thinks a nitro car, when it finishes running, the motor is so bloody hot. Well, it's hot, but if you want to see one hot, watch the Econo dragsters, and they've got a radiator where the nitro cars do not. Higher nitro runs cooler, but on a dragster, at the end of the drag strip, you don't want to watch out for the motor. The tailpipes, yes, stay away from those things. They'll be glowing red. Stay away from the tires. That's a burn that keeps on giving. You'll stick to it.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That rubber is hot. It's bubbling. That'll burn you. You won't forget
Let me
it.
interrupt you for a second, Phil. I actually haven't even had a chance to ask or say hi to Mark Lumen. Thanks for coming in, Mark. Appreciate that. And then Brandon.
I was going to show Phil my ice cream. This is my ice cream tonight, Phil.
You
What
guys.
happened?
like that.
You finished the other one.
Mark, when I come down there, when I come down there to fly, you're going to have to show me where to buy some of that. I would like to partake of a bit of that.
So Mark, you finished the bourbon caramel already, huh?
Yeah, I still got some of that in there. You know, it's
okay.
That's my excuse.
Bourbon caramel sounded delicious.
Very good. It's very good. Yeah.
I heard the only way you could get that stuff was if it came in a stock car over the country roads.
Yeah,
that's true. In the trunk.
In the trunk.
And spare gas tank.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why the cars have to go so fast, is it'll melt.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
There is a reason we live in the South.
This is true.
So
I covered
Brendan,
the still so the snow wouldn't get to it. So, you know.
I wanted to ask Brendan, what is he working on? What are you doing tonight, Brendan?
I got a rugged stunt trainer here that I was putting landing gear on it, hoping to get an electric motor on it. And that'll pretty much do it. One thing I'll show on it, when I first started off, let me get one of these. So with rugged stunt trainers, that was kind of where we started with things. And you can see the nose here has a pretty limited space. So I started off with some 3S batteries, but when I upgraded to a 4S,
oh yeah, kind of a challenge there.
Huge. So I was able to kind of put it like that, but just not very effective. So I don't know how many people kind of do something of this nature, but I carved out a spot in the wing.
So that looks like for a bladder tube, you know.
What's that?
So it looks like what you do to put a bladder tube in there.
I'm not familiar with one of those.
Well, an engine running a bladder, well, some of them get those clear rocket tubes and they cut it to length and seal off the ends and put a hole in it so you can slip a bladder into it. Then you can pump it up, and if the bladder blows, it all stays in there and doesn't get all through your wing and everything. But it keeps the bladder in place real well.
Gotcha. So yeah, I'm able to slip this battery in here.
Yeah.
And the body holds it pretty tight to begin with, but I'm going to get a Velcro cinch strap to go across the battery as well to keep that in there. And then the other thing is, if you notice, I offset it to the outboard wing so that it automatically gives me a little tip weight.
Yep.
Right.
Is that like a 2S, Brandon?
What's that?
Is that like a 2S? It's hard to see from here. Your battery.
No, that's a 4S battery. It's a Zippy Compact 3000.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. I will ask one thing since I'm showing this. So my landing gear, I did make it one piece. I think some people make it double, but you know, obviously I'm able to bend the one side before jamming it through, but I use a vise to clamp it together. What do other people do to get that tight? Because I still have, I don't know if people can see it, there's still a lot of a gap between the wire and the fuselage. So I pinched it with the vise, but it still doesn't close that gap.
I have a wire bender. There's a long arm on it. Put it in the vise, and I can bend it, overbend it, and then bring it back to where I want it.
Yeah, the problem.
But I think what he's trying.
I can't bend the whole thing up because I still have to jam it through the hole.
Yeah.
No, what you do, here's what I say. Okay, go ahead.
Two pieces. No, you go ahead. I was just going to say, use two pieces. You're more stubborn than I am, and that's rare.
Well, if you're going to use the one-piece gear, normally, in my experience, what you do is before you install the wing in the fuselage, you bend it up so it's a nice tight fit, and it'll mean radiusing out the inside of the wing cutout so that the gear will nest in there just right. And then, you know, so it's a sequence thing. Otherwise, you're kind of back to the two-piece, but you need to be sure that you reinforce in the fuselage, at least with some hardwood, maybe even with a piece of like brass tubing, where the two ends poke in. Otherwise, that wallows out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I think if I'm correct, I've got as my nose, I got a piece of plywood, birch plywood here. And so just for the nose of it, because you know what, someone put me onto the whole idea of making whole fuselage this birch plywood. It was just too heavy. So what I did is I just cut the noses off, but I maintained them up here because they're solid. And then I put a piece of basswood running the back because that's a pretty thin fuselage, and this plane's going to take a lot of beatings. It's a trainer plane. But so the wood's already strong to begin with without, you know, the tubing.
Does it have a balsa core in the area where you want the landing gear to go through?
That is not. That is still that birch plywood.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so it's solid to begin with, but I love hearing your tip for when I go to, you know, planes that have balsa bodies. It's good to know.
Yeah, an easy way to do that is to inset a little block of maple, or after the fact, what you can do, and it's because it's easy, is you can take the finished fuselage and just put it in your drill press and drill, let's say, a 3/8 hole, and epoxy hardwood dowel in that hole, cut it off flush, and then drill the hole for the gear.
The center, yeah.
It's
a good idea.
You want to harden that up there because it takes a lot of stress on some bad landings. So he's giving you good advice there.
Yeah, the thing to worry about the most is twisting load on the wheel. So if you take the plane and let's say you're kind of, for orientation purposes, it's like you're sitting in the pilot's seat. When you, let's say, drop it in on a grass field, the wheels mostly want to swing backwards. And so the gear is going to pivot in your clamps that are up against the fuselage. But what it means is only that very little tip of the gear that's poking halfway through the fuselage is resisting that torque. And so you can see that if the fuselage is, let's say, a ½ inch or, almost 3/4 of an inch thick, if it's a half plus 2/8 inch doublers, I've only got half of that. So maybe 3/8 compared to the lever arm on the other side, which might be 5 or 6 inches. And so that's just a 10-to-1 multiplier, right there. So that's the reason for trying to harden it up.
Some people actually make the legs that are going up and going into the fuselage different lengths, so one could be on top and then go all the way.
That's true. Yeah. So they're beside each other instead of joining.
Yeah. So what that does is that doubles the strength that it would have had. And it's probably more than double, but it cuts the load problem in half, which is a good thing.
Right.
Help yourself as much as you can.
Hey, one thing that I did, and it really helps it going like exactly what you guys are saying, and I don't know if we can get it big enough so you can see.
Hang on, Mark. I was on another screen. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Mark, you're big.
Get the light right.
You got
where it goes into the fuselage. I put a roll pin.
Excellent.
And
oh gosh, that'll never break.
And grooved out the bottom of the roll pin to take care of that forward and back.
Yeah.
Motion.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
And same thing. It has a dowel inside too, but I fly off the grass here is, a lot of grass, and you just need a little bit more sturdy, like you say, for that shear force. And until I did this on this one, I was forever, dealing with these, moving and the whole thing. And I think that was a Charles
that was a
suggestion a long time ago, actually.
A roll pin. Yeah.
But anyway, a lot of different ways to do it, but that really fixed that problem here for me.
Yeah, that's I hadn't had any problems since I've been using roll pins. So I'm glad you heeded my suggestion. Great. Appreciate it.
Well, okay, that's one thing you're right on. Now, what about all the other?
That's why I don't talk very much.
Unbelievable, eh, Charles? Unbelievable.
I talk too much because
I'm the one also that was on the video forum, and somebody in the forum had to tell me that I had my elevator horn on the top side with the whole rod installed instead of the bottom. So
yeah, that happens. That happens.
I couldn't help it. You were wide open, Charles.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Robert, thanks for coming in, Robert. I appreciate that. And I wanted to backtrack on the fuel mixture for Montana Farmer. I was just thinking about this. Montana Farmer, I don't know how I can get this to you, but I have an Excel spreadsheet that already has the macros and everything. I just put in there what I have right now, and then I put in what I want, and then I hit go or something, and it calculates, how many ounces of oil or contents I need to add. So that's kind of how I do it. And then one of the other things that I've done with all my fuel cans is, those binders, that piece of paper that slides in like a little clear pocket on your binders.
Yeah.
When the binders in a bookcase. Well, I bought that clear pocket. It has an adhesive, and I stick that in my cans or jugs, and I have that piece of paper, and I write on that what this fuel is. Sometimes I have 3 different, compositions of fuel. And so that's one way I kept organized. And, but that Excel spreadsheet, I think is available on the internet. I'm trying to remember where I downloaded it from. If I remember, I will try to tell you.
Did you download it from Stunthangar? They have
no. I wish I could say
it was on an RC forum. I've got the link somewhere. I'll see if I can find it. And
yeah, so that makes your life a lot easier, just having that Excel spreadsheet. to mix the fuel.
I'd like to have a copy of that too.
Yeah,
And,
I'd
Phil,
like
For
to
anything to make life easier.
do you have a question for me, Phil, or I saw you raise your finger?
No, I was going to say I want a copy of that too.
Okay. Well, if Mark, if you
that's,
can find that and put it in the
I'll take it up
chat,
for you.
that'd be awesome. I mean, the chat being the Zoom chat, not the chat out in YouTube. I know you can't do that one too easily, or maybe you can.
Charles, just
Yeah.
let me say one thing. I know I'm going to catch a couple of phone calls because a couple of guys have already fussed at me and said, "Why are you worried about fuel when you're going electric?" My old timers won't be going electric. My classics won't be going electric. So I still fool with fuel too.
Good.
Yeah, me too.
Dennis Adamison, I'm so glad you're here. Walter and I was talking about something this weekend about, and I thought, well, I know Dennis probably heard this and done that already, especially with your dad being Art Adamison. Well, you know, Walter and I was talking about how fencing is an Olympic sport, and basically get to the crux of the matter. Why, or have you tried to make control line stunt an Olympic sport?
You know,
The only time I've ever heard of anything like that, and I don't think it got much traction, when the Olympics were in Atlanta in, was it 1980, 84, something like that? There was some talk. I remember Tom Dixon talked about trying to have a side event as a demonstration event or something loosely linked with the Olympics, to which the International Olympic Committee told him to go away. So that's as close as I've heard to it.
I think their general policy is Olympic sports are not motor sports.
Yeah, that would do
That's
it.
that's awfully good.
Yeah,
So
that puts us out
Maybe
pretty
a
quick.
reason.
Yeah, I've often
Okay.
wondered about things like they got like sailboats and things like that. There's certainly technology involved in a lot of the events, but you're right on target. A motorsport, especially speed events and stuff like that, would certainly be there. I don't know, a stunt event maybe a little hazier that way, but yeah.
And as
Well, a few
crazy as
years
the
ago-
FAI committees, the CIAM and others are,
Mhm.
I think that it's a lot more manageable for modelers to deal with the FAI folks than it is the Olympics folks.
Yeah, that's a true thing. It's right on target. I mean, you take a look at AMA versus FAI, and then when you toss that into the International Olympic Committee, it's like abandon all hope,
Well, for example, one of the things that I recall from a few years back, and I don't remember, probably in the 8 or 9 years ago kind of time frame, is there was talk of drug testing for FAI modeling events. And so you get into some pretty esoteric arguments about what is performance enhancing and what's not. And, it sounds pretty absurd until you start realizing that in golf, it turns out that, and I'm not a golfer, so what I know about golf, you could fit inside a thimble with Charles' thumb in it. But it's one of those things where having, let's say, a drug that could calm you down while you're trying to putt could be an appreciable advantage. And so now you get into the problem of you may have multiple governments, some of which aren't necessarily friendly to other governments of participants, who may be actually proctoring medical tests. And, then you get in it's just a downhill situation. So my thought would be enjoy what you got and improve it as you see fit, but don't inherit a whole world's worth of competitive problems from, again, opinion, warning, opinion. Sorry.
I'm interested in that drug that helped me
interesting, too.
calm when I'm going over the reverse wing over, so I can do that pull out at 4 feet. Do you have any line on where it gets me?
Well, I think you're too calm if you're pulling out at 4 feet, Charles.
I think, things like I'm diabetic, so I take a little bit of this and that and whatever else. And I know there's other people with more serious conditions than that. I can't even comprehend, you start testing 50, 60-year-olds for drugs and stuff like that, you're going to be finding all kind of stuff they ain't used to seeing,
I have drugs for lunch, drugs for breakfast.
That's it. That's a part of it's one of my, I think it's my middle meal, right? It's just all my box of pills. But
there's nothing wrong with a couple of gabapentin and a couple of beers before bed.
Oh Lord.
There you go.
I can't.
There you go.
How do you take those things?
Sleep like a baby, I imagine.
I take 1,200 milligrams a night.
Eddie, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Good to
See you
see
again.
Eddie.
I got me.
Good to see you. I don't know how in the world you take
a couple
1,200
times here
milligrams.
already, but
Look what
All right.
All right. That's nice.
That looks like a pretty nice kit.
it came with
original
paper gold.
saucepan.
Paper gold.
Yeah.
Looks wrinkly and all.
Yeah.
And in that case, looks like golden paper. So it's kind of old.
It's, yeah. But it's still flexible. So
Look at those lures hanging on the wall.
a little bit of dope, little bit of water and dope. It'll be fine.
Eddie, you gonna be here Friday night?
Should be.
I'll bring up I'll clean up and bring up my SE5 to give you a little instigation, whatever the word is, inspiration. to get that thing built.
Give me a little
instigation, depending on the crowd.
Phil, look at the bass and crappie plugs he's got on the back wall there behind that blue wing.
I've been looking at that. I'm a
little
jealous, but anyway.
What am I looking at?
The fishing lures you got hanging out there.
Your fishing lures.
Oh yeah, those are some of Dad's collectibles.
It's
even got the radiator.
Cool.
Good gracious, look at that.
A little rusty, but
I've
been way in the woods.
Eddie, I couldn't get on the trigger quick enough. Can you show it again, please?
Oh, it's fast. It showed. It showed. He's full span on mine.
Okay. And what is that for?
That's the radiator in the nose.
Oh, of that scale, that biplane?
The kit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, very cool. Thank you. Guys, let me catch up on the chat box. You guys, I'm a little bit behind, so just give me a second to catch up. Let me see here. Okay. So Montana Farmer said, thanks, guys. Good idea, John. And I think it's regarding that bottle, John.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Riley says, Brendan, use a single wheel like a flight streak. And then Montana Farmer says, hey, Jeff, how are you? And they go back and forth. Hi, Montana. Good here. Montana, good to hear. You know, anyways, Montana Farmer then asks a question, I think. He says, oh, I haven't been here lately. Been working on snowmobiles, LOL. And then Jeff Riley says, yeah, our repairs lately. Nice. You guys, please stop that conversation stuff. I don't like doing that because I want you guys in the chat box to relate to us in the panel. And when I see I'm behind, I can't help but turn my attention to it. So please just assume you guys are well and assume you guys are saying hi to each other. Please stop doing that.
So you only play one horn at a time.
Yeah, because I have guys that will talk for a while and I'm waiting to get to the chat because I see all the characters. And then when I stop the show to read the conversations. So it's my personal pet peeve. Please stop doing that. It's frustrating for me to have to stop at the flow of the show for that stuff.
You know what time it is, Charles?
Say again?
You know what time it is? Time for me to put the pizza in the oven.
Right. It's gonna get is this a Red Baron pizza? It's a model aviation pizza, Dave.
Yeah, that's cool.
I want you to know, so we try to keep it model aviation, so he gets a Red Baron pizza.
That's right.
I don't know. I'd expect him to I'd expect him to have a Papa John's. Oh.
No, everybody's getting off topic.
The last time I went to Tucson, we went out riding. One day it was so windy, I said, I'm not even going to try it. And we went out riding. All 5 of the biplanes were sitting on the ground at Pima, I can't remember what pizza company it was now, but anyway, they're white with red lettering. They were gorgeous, and even they wouldn't fly. It was so windy. So that was airplane rated as I could think of. It went through my mind. That's doggone. I remember seeing those Red Baron pizza planes. That's what it was, Red Baron, and they were beautiful. I never did figure out what kind of airplanes they were, but they're pretty.
Well, out here in Sepulveda Basin where we fly, we have a lot of Santa Ana winds certain times of the year, and it'll blow 30, 40 miles an hour sometimes. And, you know, keeping with the pizza theme here, we just buy a pizza, and if we throw it and we can't get it to frisbee all the way across the circle, it's too windy to fly, so we go home.
The pizza test. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Very good.
What is that red plane behind you? Red and white on the wall. Looks like a BD-5J.
Is that
I can't see much
for
of it.
Dave Ho?
Oh, we're talking.
Yeah.
Dave Ho, why don't you go
It's
and show us your
above-
airplanes? I'm going to make you
It's
big.
above and
Explain them to us.
oh yeah. It don't look like a BD-5.
That one's a BD-5 slope soarer.
That is neat.
I like
I
that.
like that.
You know, I'm not a fan of it only because it's a bouncing airplane. I don't like making planes out of foam. But the one straight behind me is a
That's
Talon.
neat.
And
Yeah, I've
you know,
flown one of those.
it's pretty slow. You know, actually the best one is that one there, which I don't know if you guys are going to recognize that or not, but you know, you might. This is a quiz. It's now devolved to a quiz.
It looks familiar, but I can't remember the name of it.
Looks like a sort of RC Nobler.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is. It's a junior Nobler that we used to convert all the time into a slope soaring plane.
I'll be darned.
And much better airplane than either of the other two hanging up there.
Wow.
My current
We did a
problem is that one, which is a I guess you call it a Magician 15.
Right? What's
And
the problem?
it was gifted to me by Dave Braun, who is almost local to me here. He was one of the guys that was instrumental in early Brodak kits. So if you look at the early hand-drawn Brodak plans, they were almost all drawn by Dave. But this one's got some issues because I've got a little yin 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 ya, a yin 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 ya 3. So I don't know if I can do this.
Oh God, there's the problem.
Take it easy, Lynn.
There's the
Grab your
problem
heart.
right there. Take that
No.
out in the backyard and throw it as far as you can and start again.
No. See, this is not a fox. This is a yin 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 yin.
Yeah, I know what it is. Don't worry.
I can make
Throw
a
it
fox
anyway.
work. That's
So-
a challenge.
Fox, I'll put the fox in the airplane.
It's practically a piece of jewelry, but I've
Yeah.
concluded that the problem isn't the yin 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 motor. It's in fact the front of the almost no flying time junior or Magician 15. I think the nose is soft, and so it goes into resonance mode, and
Brother.
you don't get a consistent engine run to the point of you don't launch. Not okay, it's annoying or whatever, but you don't even launch. So I'm known in our club for doing nose jobs on airplanes because everyone that either gets gifted to me or some guy in the club has trouble, you know, or he gets into that syndrome that somebody might have just been talking about where he can't stand a yin 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 yin, but that's what it's drilled for. But he does have a really good fox, so it turns into a nose job. But I don't really feel like cutting the nose off of this and starting over. But
No, I don't think you should have to. Put a cheek cowl
The
on
biggest
the
thing-
inside to stiffen up the nose.
yeah, it's already
Yeah.
got one of those. I don't know if it's
Okay.
That does.
real legible, but
Okay.
it just looks like it's hinging right around the leading edge. And you know, I didn't build it originally, and it's probably 30 or 35 years old, but I think it's probably only got 3 or 4 flights on it.
Yeah.
Well, an Enya, the only thing you can do with an Enya is put it on a test stand and run it until it runs sweet. They are ridiculously tight motors when they're new, but if you'll take the time to break it in, they become very, very nice motors, and they last a long time. My favorite airplane to fly in the wind until my daughter's boyfriend thought he could fly and destroyed it for her was a little Enya 35 powered. What was the name of that airplane? Anyway, it's a Brodat kit. And I got mine from Mike Gorman. He cut a kit and didn't build it. Built two of them, and he gave me one of them. And I built the kit and started flying it. Fancy Pants.
Fancy
I can't
Pants.
remember.
Oh
Fancy
boy.
Pants. Okay.
Yeah.
We can't
And
talk
that
about
little
fancy pantses around here.
Well, that little thing. Everybody said, "Oh, that thing is it's so butt ugly," and da 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 da. And I took that thing out. We were at East Coast Golden Oldies back when Larry Drawn was doing that down in Tifton, Georgia. And it got so darn windy that it was ridiculous. The wind absolutely took my Oriental away from me. And Mike went out with his Fancy Pants and put up a pattern, and it just flew beautifully. And I said, "What is the magic? What have you done?" And he says, "Here, fly it." I flew his Fancy Pants, and it flew like there was no wind. So I went home, built, talked to him, and I built the Fancy Pants. And he had a Fox 35. I put the Enya 35 on it. That little thing, that was an amazing little airplane until he destroyed it out here in the backyard. I've got most of it back together now, but it won't look as good as it did. But maybe it'll fly again one of these years. I work on it like 15 minutes.
Is they have excess power. So if you look at a full-scale aircraft design, one of the things they always quantify, before you buy one, or if you're building it to a spec, is they'll tell you how much excess power you have, which has a formula for it. But the bottom line is that you don't run up against a power envelope problem because the plane isn't very big. The problem I've had with I've got two of them that were gifted to me. One is yellow, and I call it the yellow pants, and I got one is red, so it's the red pants. But the yellow pants has a real nasty habit of, on a reverse wing over, when you pull out inverted, you start looking at the propelliator coming at you.
That's a really nasty habit. Oh my goodness,
good.
that's not good at all.
That's called a warp.
This one was dead locked in. I mean, it was beautiful before. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here you go, Mark. Let me. I know your arms are getting tired. Mark is trying to show us his Fancy Pants kit.
There you go.
Pull up a little higher there, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
I got that on the bench now. I'm just boning out the wing, and I'm going to put an FP20 on it that I've got. So I think that's going to be plenty.
Oh yeah, gotcha. That'll be perfect.
I've got a FP25 on my red pants, and it ran nice.
Right, that boogies, yeah. I got a Fox 35 on mine.
Yeah, I have a Fox 35 on my yellow pants, and everybody comments, they go, "Man, that is just so steady." I go, "Yeah."
So if you got one that's not covered, would that be no pants?
I think so. Yeah. And that's the one you really got to watch out for.
No pants.
Don't let it sneak up on you.
That's funny. No pants.
No pants.
Well, for the guys that may have not thought through this because you've never been plagued by having a pants airplane, the whole style element is the landing gear and the wheel pants. And so that's the namesake. The thing that you might want to do if you're making one is come up with a lower drag strut enclosure, because the way it's stock is you have basically a plywood plate that looks like the gear door, if you were imagining it had a gear door, but then it's enclosing the strut inside just a balsa block. That is really draggy. So if you like to actually glide around for a lap and be able to put it where you want, that's not real conducive to that. So, that's just a thought.
Yeah, like here is what you were saying. where the gear comes down, correct?
Let me see. Hang on a second.
I'm not.
Catch up.
Make it big so we can see it.
Yeah.
Charles going to do some magic there.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Here we go. All right. Now you're big. Okay.
Yeah. Now that's the plate.
Yeah.
And then there's, yeah. Now the other trick that's embedded in the whole idea here is that it's a torsion gear. And so you're anchoring it in the wood, the grooved wooden block, gear block.
The wing, yeah.
But what you're counting on is that you get wind up in the torsion part of that gear and you don't get bending in the actual leg of the gear. Because if you get bending in the leg of the gear, you just pop that wooden block apart and you shed your wheel pants all over the field. And
true.
Then every club member that you know and those that you don't know come jumping up out of their lawn chairs to, you know, the heckling crew. Yeah, those guys.
Of course.
Yeah.
Those are the ones
good tip.
My buddy built the one I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Those friendly people are the ones that point out that you've lost parts off the airplane, so your flight doesn't count.
Those same guys. Yeah,
love those guys. Those guys are wonderful.
Yeah.
It's all great until they do it. And then they're the first ones to yell and scream at the judges and call them every name under the sun. Yeah, I know those kind.
I've run into them once or twice.
Yeah, we all have.
Oh man,
Good night, guys. I gotta go to bed.
Hey Walter, before you go, Walter, did we cover everything we talked about? I know we talked about engines,
talk about when Dennis
lack of
come on.
engines, and maybe this being a sport as opposed to a hobby. Was there something else?
Well, I've always been a proponent of having 10 bad ideas before you come up with one good one. And this, being Charles and I, bring it back to the beginning again. Charles and I talked a little bit about how to revive the sport a little bit so that the younger folk could maybe get a little bit more involved. And I'm really a novice at this. And so it's possible that it's not a problem already. But my perception is it's getting a little long in the tooth, and that in order to revive the sport, that we think about things like turning it into an Olympic sport or something. Now, one of the gentlemen there talked about it's not a motor sport. Frankly, I had no idea, what the criteria is for an Olympic sport. I'm just trying to think of ways that would get younger people involved, separate possibly the sport itself, which is, a skill level, an absolute skill level, from the hobby, which would have a tendency to revive this a little bit. And I asked Charles on Sunday, I actually got a little excited about it, called Charles and asked him to what he thought, and felt like it might be a good idea to bring it up to the gang here on at the bench, because of the level of expertise, experience, and there's some very smart people on this forum, and that's why that was coming up. And I don't have many more comments about it, other than the fact that I would like to see the hobby or sport get more exciting again. That's all.
I would too.
Go ahead, John. You wanted to respond to that? And if you need to bow out and go, Walter, that'd be fine. But thank you for coming in, Walter. Appreciate it. And by the way,
good to see you, Walter.
Steve Hines
good to see you, Walter.
And Steve Hines, just a second. I see you got your hand raised. Just be a minute, but thanks for coming in, Steve.
Okay, I'm liable to get pilloried, quartered and drawn and quartered and all of that for what I'm going to say.
Go for it.
We need to carefully consider the value of the BOM. I don't think it has the value today that it had back in the day. I think there might be the event like the Walker Cup where it should be retained, but I think in the skill classes, let's just get rid of it. They're doing it on the East Coast successfully. Things are going pretty well there. I can tell you that out here, the amount of contests that we have has dropped, except for Tucson, And I think if you made it easier for kids and their dads, to buy an airplane and come in and fly, and that they could go up the skill class with that bought airplane might be a way to help make it more welcoming and more available to people who want to get started. Now I'll shut up and go pull my pizza out.
I'll tell you what, John, there'll be a manifest on Stunthangar by tomorrow.
Take me on, hang me, right?
No, that I'm writing, and people will see what not to do. I mean, you know, Samantha got screwed over again, and this will probably be one of the, you know, I may get on some other times, but I'm done with control line flying.
Oh man.
What's up?
She's done with it. And
what?
That's all there is to it. I mean, I was talking to her. I was refinishing that plane to actually give to Pampa or somebody, Samantha's, when she took to the World Championships, because it's take apart for just an extra. It will be there if someone crashes, something happens, there's another plane to fly. But we decided today we'll burn that first before we ever give it to anybody in this organization.
Well, explain the issue.
What happened? What happened?
Well, Samantha volunteered for to be the CD at the Nats.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the one thing is that when she got COVID, she found out just days ago, they took her vacation when she got paid for this. They just applied her vacation to it. And she thought it was just the money, but she still got the days. But now they took it off. So she talked with work, and the only way that she could do this was to get an internship from someplace. You know, that's the only time she could get off. So we talked with Dave and said, hey, we can get an internship at the AMA. She can get the time off. Doesn't have to be paid. It didn't need to be, it's not for school. Really, all she needed was a letter that said, Samantha will be doing a 5-week internship or something like that. And she actually would have did it for free. And she's in her last class now for statistical analytics. She's got her something. I got it written down someplace. I can't think of the name they call that last class. They give you they pick a thing, they give it to you, and your team has to work the complete thing out. If you don't pass it, you can't have your degree. But you know, we ain't worried about that. So that was sent into the Nats on Thursday night sometime. Well, then Saturday, we hear, I won't say who I heard from, but I started getting text messages about John Paris now being the CD. So I called John. John told me that he told Dave, if this didn't work out with Samantha, he'd be the CD. Well, I'll read you a text message from Dave. I guess he talked it over with somebody and they made John the CD. They didn't even wait to hear back from the AMA or anything like that. But it's bullshit. But I'll read what. Oh, hold on a second. Dennis, did you talk to Dave after we talked the other night? Huh?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew somebody talked to him because you'll hear this, and I knew that somebody talked to him.
Guys, I want to hear this, and I'll ask you about it. Might call you tomorrow and talk to you about it. I got to take my daughter to work. There's snow on the ground here, and if there's any kind of thing on the ground, she won't drive. So I'll see y'all later. I'll be back in an hour, I hope. Take care.
Okay, Phil.
All right.
So this is 9 hours after we found out from other people. Dave didn't even have the decency to call her ahead of time. It says, hi, Samantha, Dave here. I'm still working on your internship and want you to get to come and help us. I need to get the word out to the crew what was going on and explain we still haven't nailed down anything yet. I told some about what we were trying to do with your coming. A couple of us who have done this began to think, and this would be overwhelming for you right now, giving everything you have going on in your life right now, and likely not to be the best for you if you have this much pressure. And it is that trying to make a bunch of people happy is sometimes bad circumstance. I got cursed a couple times for things that I had to do or out of my control. And it's quite a lot of work. Even before you get there, John Paris called me while I was at work today and offered. I felt knowing that the AMA is, without knowing what the AMA is going to do, I had to find, because I got this on different pages. At work today and offered. I felt without knowing what AMA is going to do, I should accept. I still wish for you to come and help in whatever capacity he needs most. I know we have nobody to do the tabulations, or in any case, a judge for sure, in that way can also, I hope, do the internship. I'll let you anything they internship. I'll let you know. I don't know. It doesn't make sense there. I'll let you know anything internship. I'll let you anything they tell me. Reach out to me whenever. Dave Tribble. I mean, he assumes it'd be too much pressure on her or whatever. This is what he says. Basically, it was a nice way to say, F you. We found somebody we'd rather have. And Samantha told me, when I first told her that this was going on, she said, Dad, it doesn't surprise me. Pampa only wants women for tabulation and running. And then he sends a damn text with tabulation to prove her point that that's the only thing women are good for.
I don't think that's what he meant at all.
Yeah, that's what he meant. That's the only jobs. That's the only job women get at the Nats. And we can go in the judging thing and what they made her do when she was young, and then told her that they didn't think that anybody that were the older guys would accept a teenager's scoring them. So she could now judge. Well, then 2 years later, Daly's son judged, and he was a year younger than her when she wanted to do it. They made her do 2 years of practice and still didn't let her do it. They let Daly's son do it. And he didn't have to go 2 years of practice at the Nats. You know, that was bullshit. So then I had to try to go back in here and read what Samantha sent him. And it will be there. It says, I can make it bigger. It says, hi, Dave. I really don't want to hold back on my feelings with this because I feel as this is important. First off, I have no desire to help with anything at the Nats or do any sort of other internship after this. Also, for you and others to assume that this would be overwhelming to me is offensive. Besides doing full-time college in business data analytics, I also work for a dental corporation and manage 34 centers. My role is a patient care coordinator, and I'm the head of the patient complaints. So to think that I couldn't deal with this is very wrong. Not to mention, I wouldn't be taking any classes or working during that time, so I could put all my energy into this internship. But you wouldn't know that because you neglected to even ask me. Just because it's hard for others doesn't mean it would be difficult for me. I truly feel like this is a very sexist or ageist, ageist, whatever that is, because
it's like ageism. You know, if you're sexist, you can also be ageist.
Oh, okay.
You're against her for her age.
Ageist, because there is no explanation for this. Saying that I could be a tabulator instead is troubling to me because there is no correlation on the workload between the two. I am done being underestimated. I feel as this sort of unacceptable behavior has been happening to me since I started flying. Just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't do what a man can do. And I can assure you, I am better than what you think. I'm a hard worker, incredibly intelligent, and tougher than any of you could imagine. I'm sorry you had to miss out on me ever helping on anything again. Samantha.
For
her. Good for her.
Good for her.
What's the problem?
Kudos.
So
good for her. I don't blame her. I'd feel the same way because she volunteered long before anybody else. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't nice for John Paris to volunteer it. But boy, oh boy, that's just something else.
When did you volunteer and what is this internship? And how long would it have taken for an internship to be put in place? I'm just asking the questions because I'd like to understand.
like I said, it was a kind of a fictitious internship.
From who?
Because she already has it covered at school. So it's all done. But as far as school considered, it was just work. She needed to say, okay, someone's going to do work for us. And she could get off that time at work. I told her that I would cover 1 month of her wages, and I would supply all the money for apartments, travel, food, whatever, when she was down in Indiana. And I told Dave that too. There would be no problem with money. You know, all this just done on a computer. So she probably wouldn't even had to be at the AMA more than a few days to get it going and, you know, maybe go back from time to time. But it's not a big deal. That's what she's going to do for the rest of her life. And
well, my question was, who supplies the internship? That's why I'm just a little confused, Steve.
The
AMA had to give her an internship, right?
Right.
So the AMA did not give her an internship.
We don't know. It was turned in Friday night. It went through Friday. Today's Martin Luther King. They're not open. We didn't even know what they were going to say.
Right. Yeah.
None of this had to be done to the 31st. And, you know, I don't know what was said. John said he told him he would take it if it didn't go through for Samantha. Everything was covered, you know, so it was covered. And, you know, it's just, this is bullshit. She's been screwed so many times by Control Line, just so many times, just like to deal with judging, you know. And Dennis will vouch. Hell, when he was having a hard time finding an assistant, Samantha even stepped up and offered not to fly and be his assistant. But Dave found somebody and she flew. But I mean, this has just been going on and on. I just told her she's just damn lucky she's not a black woman. She would truly get screwed her whole life.
No reason to bring that race shit up, Steve. No reason for that.
Yeah, it's true though.
Uncalled
That's
for.
even worse.
Uncalled
Martin
for.
Luther King's
Say what you want to
birthday.
say, but don't start this race shit.
Yeah, it was Martin Luther
I'm outta
King's
here.
birthday, and it's true.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I think it was a sexist thing. They've never had a female CD in all the years of the Nats. They never had one.
They had a co-CD, a woman co-CD in 95.
Yeah, but never a CD. Never somebody in charge. I mean, it's just
I think you have to look at the overall control line events director. I'm not sure that that's the right title, but Brenda's done that for years. So
who?
Brenda Shute
has been
she was in charge of not just stunt, but all the events. You know, I was mostly involved in racing, a little bit of speed, and she handled.
She's in for Pampa or
not for
the
Pampa,
AMA?
Not for Pampa, but
right.
Overall.
Right. Overall, right. But she has nothing to do with the SIG stuff, really, is what
no, the SIGs would be supporting her as they ran their independent events.
Right. But, you know, we got the letter from Dave. We didn't get anything from Brenda.
Yeah. Well, just as a point of information, not that this helps anything, but out here in the West Coast, I guess you call it District 10, you know, there's been some pretty strong areas of what I'll call stunt in having helped run a couple of those events. There's some tough characters in the crowd. You know, there's a lot of competitive type people. And
so what does that say? That because she's a girl, she can't handle them? Only guys can handle tough characters?
No.
There's no excuses for this. I don't know what your name is, but there's no excuse for this.
You're not letting me finish my thought.
Okay. Go ahead and finish.
So with all of that, you find that the culture that we've seen, sometimes, it's not always this way, but it reverts. You know, you're never sure when it's going to pop up. Is we'll have even an old guy and been flying forever, but he's not a, you know, for lack of a better term, a known top 20 kind of guy. He maybe never actually went back to Muncie. And there's a lot of pushback, or at least perceived pushback. And so in that case, it has nothing to do with being a woman or not being a woman, or being older or not older, because quite honestly, the two people I'm thinking of are in the kind of the demographic of the people that you'd see as, you know, the cadre in precision aerobatics. So I think the comment that was made earlier about, you know, judging, I think is a particularly interesting category where, how can you judge me? I can fly way better than you can.
But you know how good, you know how well Samantha can fly?
No, I haven't seen her fly.
Oh, okay. You know, she went to the world championships and stuff, right? She
Um,
can hold her own, but she can beat, I would say, at least 85 to 90% of the people who show up at the Nats.
mhm.
She flies 560s, 540,
Yeah, so
560s.
I'm not trying to make
So
this
she's
about,
right up there. So
I'm not trying to make this about Samantha or not about Samantha. What I'm trying to say is that we're maybe not careful enough in the participants. They get that kind of pushback, whether or not it's a younger person, so that question of ageism. And sometimes you get that kind of pushback if they're not a top 20 or a known top 20 kind of person. So I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it's good.
I'll tell you what,
saying,
I don't know if there's, you know, really ever been a top 20 flying judge at the Nats. Usually the top 20 guys are all flying.
Yeah.
And all the judges that were there last year when she did judge, it was a deal to where she could outfly every single one of the other judges. So everybody should have been begging her to judge them.
Well, Ted Fancher's judged.
Oh, is Ted Judge?
Ted judged the year I was there.
Frank McMillan.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not.
I know Danny Banjock's judged, I think,
Yeah,
once too,
Dan's
or more.
judged too.
Yes.
But I'm saying that it's usually the core people, even the head judge. Samantha could outfly the head judge. I mean, judging and flying are two different things.
I agree.
You know, and I mean, it's just a deal to where, you know, she got shafted again. And that's all there is to it. And somebody show me, we can't hear you, Tryon.
You don't have to be a top flyer to be able to judge. You have to just have good eye and good recognition of the maneuver.
Right.
And the path through which the plane went. It's just meaningless.
You know, I mean, even one time she was judging, she had to school the other judges on a guy flying maneuvers out of order. They're just saying, you know, hey, none of these count and stuff. And she's like, hey, you got to judge these. She goes, you just lose pattern points. You don't lose the score for a maneuver.
Right, right.
So they looked it up at the end. She was right. And, you know, one of the judges never scored anything on the rest of the flight. So, and these were old guys. They go out there and judge and don't know the rules.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to be a judge if you can't follow the rules.
Right. It really is.
I don't think what happened to Samantha was right, and I think she deservedly has the right to be upset about it. But I'm seeing too much ageism, and me being in the ageism group, I take a little umbrage to that because, hey, I've been flying since 1953. And I don't fly as good as I flew back in the 60s. But I don't fly bad. And those of us in my age group don't deserve to be put down because we're old. Because many of us, we know what this pattern's supposed to look like. We can do a fair job of judging. We've been around long enough that we usually know what the rules are. There are exceptions to every rule, obviously, but you know, we gotta, Steve, you gotta look at this like this is the subject I'm talking about and keep it on that because
it is. But she was told before that she couldn't judge because the older participants wouldn't want a teenage judging her. If that ain't ageism, I don't know what is.
Well, right then, if it had been me or my daughter or my son, I would have said, okay, let's have a pilots meeting right now and ask the pilots. Most of them be happy because they got somebody else to judge so they can fly.
The pilots weren't there. This was discussed before the Nats even started.
Well, then even the better, then they could have brought it up at the pilots meeting. Let them know they were going to be judged by a top junior or senior pilot. They don't have to mention whether she's a woman or not. It's just that she's a top.
Definitely.
Right. And what I'm saying is after they denied her, they let a kid even younger do it.
Yeah.
Haley's son.
I mean, that's just pylon. I can understand your
Yeah,
frustration,
like-
Steve, because it's not the first time.
This isn't the first time.
Yeah.
Now, like, I mean,
Just stuff
I
that
look
keeps
at,
happening. And it's like, you know, how you going to put it into it?
Yeah, I understand, Steve. And I have two daughters, so I totally understand.
Right.
The sensitivity
You know,
toward
and if
I
she
had a
doesn't,
discussion
you
with
know-
Bob Hunt some time ago. And the discussion was, what are you going to do about it? He says, what you're going to have to do is what I had to do when I was starting out. You practice and keep flying until it cannot be denied you because you've gotten so good.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with judging. It has nothing to
No.
do with
I agree.
being the CD.
Yeah, we're just talking about judging and just assuming that a young person could not judge or something.
When a young person shows that they could now fly you repeatedly and flies a good pattern, their stock goes up in all areas of the sports that they're flying in.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a thing that, you know, some of the judges can't fly a pattern.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
I have
that,
no
I don't think
problem
that
with
really
that.
matters. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I
Shouldn't
have no
matter.
problem with that, you know, because,
Yeah.
you know, if you watch enough and you want to judge and this kind of stuff and you're trained and
Some of the best judges in the world didn't go out and fly the pattern ever. They
right,
didn't have to. They're judges.
Right.
They got nothing to do with whether you can fly.
Well,
right.
I,
You know,
I have,
The most
But I mean-
important thing is that it just be consistent.
Exactly.
That's the
I've
most
judged
important quality.
at the BSC, and I saw a lot of really good patterns, but I saw a couple of guys, older guys, they wanted to participate, get out there and fly the dang dirtiest, crappiest flights they ever saw. And the point then was, how do I not embarrass them by putting what they really should get, but you don't want them to, you know, I mean.
Well, that's always the problem. You're right. We have that problem even up here in Canada. Some guy who's been doing this for a long time and doesn't fly well, and everybody thinks he should get a decent score just because he's been around the club for 1,000 years. Well, I'm sorry, that isn't the way it goes. You kind of get what you get. You put yourself in the position, you're flying, we have to judge it.
Yep.
It's not fair to him to give him a good score and have him think that he's in there in the mix when he's not either.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's like
It's very hard.
Dan Banjak gave Samantha, you know, some of her worst scores. You know, he's really critical. And she said, man, you're the lowest judge all the time. And he said, you don't want me to judge it, don't fly in front of me.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, Howard, thanks for coming in, Howard. I know you're still getting in, but thank you very much. Appreciate that.
But yeah, so, I mean, this whole thing just, you know, I told Samantha, I said, hey, you know, if you still want to do it, come back in 10 years. Most of these guys will be dead or drooling on themselves.
No.
You know,
he's right.
I think
Hey,
that if we have,
Steve?
I think we have a young person who wants to judge. I think it'd be good.
right?
idea
And
to
we're
have a
talking,
judge.
how do you get young people into the sport?
That's
How
exactly
do
what I
you
was
get them
thinking.
in?
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, this isn't the way. And how many young senior, junior champions are still doing anything in the hobby?
Exactly. None, just about.
Matt,
Yeah.
Matt, what, I can't think of his name.
Colon.
Yeah, he's the only one besides Samantha.
No, there's
a few.
How
others.
about Jim Lee's son, his youngest son,
Yeah, there's a few.
Tom
out
Lee
there.
Young?
Guys, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all Friday.
All right, Eddie.
See you.
Eddie,
Easy,
thank
Eddie.
you for coming in. Appreciate it.
No,
Hope to
he's
see you again.
What's
He's
the
still
guy's
a-
name from Georgia? His father flew, and then he flew as a junior, and as a senior did well, and he's still flying. He's flying an expert.
Derek.
Derek Barry.
well, yeah, Derek Barry. I mean, they were older, but I mean, they're really the last 10, 12 years of all the junior seniors that's timed out, you know, for age. Who's left that comes back? You know, we want to keep young people. So, I mean, you got Samantha, you got Matt, you got Derek, that jumps up in 40s.
How about Mark? How about Mark Mills? James Mills' son?
Ben.
I don't know what,
Oh,
I don't know what
Ben Mills.
Ben Mills. I don't know what all he's doing, you know. But yeah, I mean, all these people just fall away, and you know, we got people dying at 100 a year, and we got one person coming in every 4 or 5 years. I mean,
Yeah, I know it's a problem. We definitely have a situation, and
you know, but you don't want to get, you know, they don't want to let the younger people be involved, make
But
any
they-
of the rules,
They need
do
to.
any
though.
of the judging, do any of the running of stuff. But yeah,
Exactly.
hey, just
I
stick
agree.
around and
Yeah.
pay your money, belong to Pampa, you know, and when you're 50 or 60, you get to be in charge.
You know, I think the AMA, I don't know all the circumstances, but I think if Samantha was the CD of the contest, boy, that would be a great thing to campaign for women, to get women in
Right.
and young people in this hobby. So
Most
I think that
definitely.
would have been a
Right. And,
very
and
good
Samantha
marketing
had,
idea.
you know, she had some plans. She was going to call the kids that she used to fly with,
Oh,
Mike
man,
Paris and all this kind of stuff, and saying, hey, I'm the CD. come back to the gnats.
Yeah.
Can
That
you
is a
help out and
missed
stuff?
opportunity.
But yeah, I mean, that's
it's-
gone too.
That is a huge mistake, in my opinion.
I agree with you, Charles.
That's a dumb
But, you know,
mistake.
knowing Samantha, I doubt she ever comes back.
I understand. I mean,
You know,
I
I
totally
really do. She's gone now forever. And that's the only reason I did it, was because of her. You know, I talked to Charles. I fly RC. And that's what I do. I gave that up to do this with Samantha because this is what she wanted to do. She didn't like RC. She
Yeah, I
liked
get
control
that.
line.
Yeah.
And
Well-
I mean, it's just hurdles in front of her all along the way.
Well, tell Samantha my heart goes out to her, and I know that that's unfortunate what happened to her. I'm really sorry to happen to her. It hurts me to hear that too.
Yeah, tell her the same from me, Stephen. And by the way, you tell her she can judge me any day. At
We all
any
do.
contest.
We all do, Lenny.
Hey, Len, I'll tell her it's easy. I judge you all the time.
That's right.
Oh, I was going to show you guys. I thought it was going to be a great thing. This deal I bought,
Hang on, Steve. And make it big.
discharge batteries,
Right?
but it only discharges them to 4.1 volts.
I didn't know it was that big. When you told me about it, I thought it would be something smaller. That's amazing.
Hell, it fits in your hand.
I know,
mean,
but I was thinking something smaller. I don't know why.
but it seems to work. Everything online, they love them. But now I got to buy a programmer, and you can program it between 3.6 and 4.1. And it's supposed to be programmed at 3.8, but this one is 4.1. So, but it's easy to use. You plug your battery into it, tell how many cells you hit. It'll take up to 6 amps. Works pretty fast. And the other thing that I did up and I wanted to show everybody was my flap that always warps.
Yeah.
So I took,
Always warps.
yeah, I mean, light balsa just always twists and turns,
Yeah.
you know? So I got 2 pieces of 1/8 and I glued them together with epoxy.
Right.
And how I did it though, is I was thinking about it to do the hinge pockets. I took cellophane tape, 3/4 inches wide, measured down, and I put a piece of cellophane tape where all the hinges are going to go on both sides. I put the epoxy on, scraped it off, then took a towel and toweled everything as dry as I could get it, like Bob Hunt does.
Yeah.
Weighted it with 75 pounds of weight. And this thing is dead straight.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks solid.
Isn't that awesome?
It's so stiff, and the pockets were the easiest I've ever cut. Because there's where that tape was at, marked. You just go in there and you can feel when you hit on the 3/4 mark because you hit hard stuff. You're just going easy. I mean,
isn't that friggin' awesome?
Steve, I'm sorry.
Easiest I ever hinged anything, and they're all right dead center.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 pieces where it goes in. So,
Steve,
yeah, that's all I have. So,
hey, Steve, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the process on the tape part? So there's no epoxy with there. How did you do that again?
okay, so I marked all my hinges, and I just got. Oh, you can't see them. Yeah, they're underneath. Jesus. So I got all my hinges marked out. So I took 3/4 inch cellophane tape or Scotch tape, whatever you want to call it.
All right.
And put a piece down on the wood and pressed it down, stuck it down where the hinge would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did that on both sides?
Yep, did it on both sides. And
All right.
I left out, because the first one I did, I had to move, and I found out I left out about a 1/2 inch of tape sticking out.
Okay.
Okay.
So now you can grab it, peel it back off when you're ready. So I just took a spatula and put on the epoxy, spread it out nice and thin on there, and scraped it. And then took a dry paper towel and just wiped it till I couldn't get no more on the paper towel. Then when I was done, I grabbed all my little tabs, peeled them off on both pieces.
Okay, now I get it.
Stuck it together and weighted it down. And I didn't know if glue would,
Wick over there.
wick out or whatever, but it
It
didn't.
shouldn't. No, that's amazing.
Because it
What
was
a
so
great
dry.
idea.
And yeah, it made it real easy. These things are really stiff because the grain is different. I made sure I had different balsa with grain going opposite directions.
I like it.
And it's light wood. I didn't weigh it, but I can sand it out and say what a flap weighs, some other time.
That is excellent. Thank you.
So that's 2 pieces of 8, 2 pieces
Yeah.
of 1/8-inch balsa. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
If you want a 3/8-inch wide flap, you use 3/16.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But I was worried about, and I was told that when you glue them together, it's just such a bear to hinge. So I kept thinking, how, would I got to cut the pockets first and all this? And I'm
Oh, what a great idea.
I'm like, I wonder if tape will work on this. And since you're not putting it on very heavy and rubbing it in, it doesn't soak under. It doesn't, when you put it together, it doesn't squish in. Nothing's squished out. I did have one little teeny spot, but I don't know, it's when I was wiping it, if I got some on the outside edge, but I mean, it sanded up real quick. But yeah, so I just weighted them overnight, just weighted them overnight, took them apart. And just before the show, I said, well, I better see how, hard this is to hinge or cut pockets. And it was, like I said, the simplest thing. I mean,
yeah, because there's no glue there and you can see the seam, so you know where the center is. It's
right.
perfect.
And the glue that is there around it, just that little bit, when you go in, you can feel the bottom, you can feel the sides, and it was like zip, zip, zip. I was done. Tried all the hinges, they fit in perfect. I'm like, wow, I think this'll work.
I'm gonna try that one. That's a brainstorm.
Yep. Gotta
That
agree
is
with that.
fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let me catch up on the chat. It's slowed down since I kind of had my little say, but Jeff Riley did say, getting ready to fill a resolution and finish a bunch of planes in the hangar. And then the last thing he said is the judgment factor is the main reason I decided to just fly for fun. And I know that can happen. I mean, matter of fact, I'm sure there's a number of people have left competition because of judging, because they're disgruntled on, whatever. It can be very frustrating, just being judged. So I understand that. And sometimes people will just forget competing and just fly for fun. I understand that.
That's for sure.
Well, there's always problems with judging. Some judges, I hate to say it, have an agenda. Some of them are open and trying to do the right thing, and some don't care. They may look at it, or they may, it happens. I experienced at the Golden, the California, what's the big one there?
Golden State Stunt Championship.
Yeah. I was judged, and I was the two judges were within 5-7 points of each other the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But the second round, the two judges were 110 points apart.
Yeah, you got torpedoed.
Yeah.
I have to say though, I've tried judging, and the judges make it, people that judge make it look pretty easy. But I tell you, that extra lap you add in between maneuvers goes really damn fast when you're judging.
Yes, it does. Oh my goodness, it does. Yep. I have judged too. I've judged several times.
And I'm like, and that's what Samantha said. They were training helping somebody out on her deal last year. She kept having to say, hey, you got to watch this next one, because he's still down making sure that, he's made nice 4s or whatever, or a nice 2. And
sure, good enough, Steve, but 110 points difference between the same two.
That's
judges.
crazy. But if a judge is looking down and it's like, oh, I missed half of that. Oh, that must be this, or
that
whatever,
happens.
They're just guessing.
Now, I also have been torpedoed, John, so that's why I mentioned it. It might not have been deliberate, but there was 100 points differential between the judges at me at the Golden State Sun Championship also. And, it happens.
I don't know how it can happen unless.
Samantha got at the World Championships. She had one judge that scored her 100 points lower than the other two. And that was the UK judge.
Oh, really?
So what's missing? What's missing is training for judges. I was pretty fortunate to get a class with Big Art when he came to Memphis one time. And yes, and he told me one thing that stuck with me. He said, everybody starts out with 40 points on every maneuver, and then they give points back to you as they're making that maneuver. And I got blistered at Brodax one time because you guys were talking about Matt Cole, and I judged him, I think, an intermediate or something. And he came down and he laid it. He put a landing in that was, I mean, it probably should have been a 40-pointer. He just greased it in. And I don't know, I think I gave him a high 30 or something. And somebody's like, you're giving an intermediate like a 37 or something on a landing. I'm like,
that's wrong.
Yeah,
that's wrong to criticize for that. I mean, if he deserved it, give a beginner a 40-point landing. If the beginner nails it,
most definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
And how
I don't
hard
care if he fluked it. I don't care how he got it. Exactly.
well, he came in and greased it. But honestly, guys, how hard is the landing? You unless the wind's howling, you just float it in, and a landing is not a hard maneuver. And the kid greased it. I mean, I don't think Paul Walker could have landed it any better in that grass. And but I think training. I think there should be, and nothing else, at least, some type of formal training that people get. They just don't show up at a contest and go, oh, here, we need a judge. Go judge.
The other thing is, too, Paul, is that it's like last year when Samantha judged. She had to take off work, so I covered her bills. I rented a trailer, had it pulled in down there. We stayed while she judged and everything. That whole thing cost me almost $2,000.
Yep.
You don't get paid to judge. You pay money to go fly at a contest and spend $2,000, but to spend $2,000 and judge, and then you're not appreciated or whatever. Everyone makes mistakes and stuff like that. But yeah, they got to have training and stuff. But you got to have the people want to do it. I did that for Samantha because she finally got her chance to judge that she always wanted to do. But it cost me a lot of money because she couldn't afford, having her apartment and stuff like that. She couldn't afford to lose wages. I mean, they gave her $100-some. I let her keep it. It's like, yeah, you just keep it. I mean, but yeah, if it wasn't me paying for it, she would have had to pay for it. But every other judge there paid for their lodging, paid for their meals, paid for everything out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah,
exactly. It's pretty thankless.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it really is.
When I went to the Nats, the one thing I was looking forward to was actually being judged by 5 judges. I've always been judged by 2, maybe 3, but to have 5 judges, I knew that would get a really good score, I assumed. And I knew that the judges at the Nats are trained. That week, they're training for the judges. So that's the one thing that I was happy to take advantage of, was actually being judged by some judges that have been trained. But
what lesson did you take away from that, Charles?
Say again?
What lesson did you take away from that? What did you learn from that?
Well, I realized that the local contests that I go to, the scores are a little bit inflated, which is okay. It doesn't matter. I mean, whoever gets the highest score wins. It doesn't matter if that higher score is inflated than it would be then being Muncie. But I just, I was expecting a much higher score. Now, unfortunately, I was flying a plane I wasn't familiar with. I didn't necessarily put my best flight in, but I got an idea of what it would be like to be judged by 5 Nats trained judges.
Did you get
everywhere else you go to, you're not going to have judges that are trained. And here in California, I hardly ever see the judges get warmed up. You don't even do a warm up flight.
Well, maybe I can explain something that we do here in California, and we're just north of you, Charles. I'm actually the president of the Valley Circle Burners out of Los Angeles, and over the last 15 years, we've had, I believe, to my knowledge, 3 judge clinics. The first one was taught by Keith Trossel. And he came out and we spent the day, with probably about 8 or 10 club members, training judges. The most recent one, we had Al, who is sort of in charge of our cadre of judges. And he had 4 of us out there for the better part of a day. And we had one exhibition pilot. So, Al would explain, what we're going to look for and the counting procedures and so on. And then they'd have a flight and we'd compare notes on what we thought we saw. So we're trying, but there's always a shortage. There's no doubt about that. But we've also done something because, the club just isn't that big. I think this last year we've had the most members in the last 5 years, and that was 34 members.
Very good.
And so, well, we've pushed, the last 3 years since I've been president, we've been pushing really hard for club projects and participation, and I think it shows up a little bit. But with that emphasis on judging, one of the things that we do is we don't take our contest too seriously. So, we let judges fly interspersed between 2 circles and so we don't penalize the judges as much, I don't think. So that helps. But it's not for lack of trying that we don't have a better judging program. But we don't want to make it punitive either. I mean, if every weekend you're forcing somebody to go out there and practice judging, you may not it might be wearing on the members.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Computer judging is the next thing. They put a camera up there.
Yeah.
Have it track it, give you a score. Then
Yeah, that's a very difficult problem in terms of the software that it would take to do that. Otherwise, what you have is you have it taking 5 or 10 times as long, because it's going to be just like watching instant replay on football.
I see, John.
You're going to get a lot of guys crowded around the computer screen, maybe doing it more accurately, but you're not going to get the contest done if there's, many rounds.
I mean, they can take a rocket and shoot down another rocket. I'm pretty sure they can get the computer speed up to score them like that.
I thought somebody did that last year at the Nats. I thought that happened. I mean, they didn't use it to score, but somebody was actually using a computer to trace all the maneuvers.
Right, and then you watch them. Well, all you'd have to do is put a scoring thing in there, and they already can do it. And when you're done with a maneuver, it'll score it. Bang, 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 bang. It'll total it, and it's done.
Yeah, let me interrupt for a second, you guys. John had his hand raised up. John, go ahead, John, please.
All right, well, at 95 at the last traveling Nats, that was in Oregon, Washington, tri-state. They asked me to judge half a stunt. And so I agreed to do that. Well, I can tell you that we spent an entire day in training with some of the top judges in the country that were there, teaching us how to judge and what to look for and how to get, in other words, how to do it. So there is some training going on with judges at something like the Nats, but there's a need for, we're realizing that it's a little change of subject here, of getting more people involved in the hobby or the sport.
Huh?
And, I mentioned, I expected to totally be drawn and quartered for it, but I mentioned relaxing the BOM. in the classes, the beginner, intermediate, and advanced, specifically maybe expert even. But to leave the things like the Walker Cup alone, because that's where really you're getting a national champion, and building is part of it. So anyway,
yeah. Well, they do building, but they don't do finishing. You don't get finishing points in the Walker Cup. So it's just, oh, you don't have building either. You have to build it, but there is no points.
There's no points for it.
But
yeah,
the Walker Cup is crazy. When is an 18-year-old or under kid ever gonna beat Paul Walker, beat Howard? I mean, it isn't gonna happen. It takes more years to get good enough. When you're in the top 10 and then you're up for the Walker Cup. Dennis Admission was the last one to do it, and there was different rules and stuff when he did it. And back then you could go to your 21. It's never the Walker Cup, it's like Samantha, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go out here and beat David, or beat, she had to fly against David and she had to fly against Paul. She goes, unless they plant their airplane, I don't have a chance. I mean, it's just really pretty much impossible. And that because for the last 40 years, it hasn't happened.
Well, you got a good point there, Steve. I'll give you that. And perhaps it's a point where you might look at it a little differently and put another award up for between the juniors and the seniors and let them fly just against each other. There's, leave the top 4 or 5 or whatever it is in expert class, or in open class, fly for the main Walker Cup, but put a junior Walker Cup up for the junior and senior age groups to fight over. Because you're right, most of them, like say the last was Dennis Admission. There have been a couple along the route that have done it, but there's years and years and years between.
Well, and the only thing Samantha said about flying the Walker Cup is she was happy the last couple times she flew it that Paul and David both had to get 2 flights in.
Thank you, Paul, for coming in.
When she first started flying it, they could beat her 2 flights with 1 flight.
Yeah, well,
just to clarify my understanding, the Walker Cup, is it the judged on your score increase, or is it the total score?
It's total scores.
Okay.
But if you only head-to-head,
increase the most. What was
the
that,
Walker
David?
Cup should be the head-to-head between the junior, the senior, and the open.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of times there you had a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, or a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old flying for the Walker Cup. And it's like,
not going to happen.
No.
Well, but there's some value.
The first year Samantha won junior was the first year that she could fly the whole pattern, because I wouldn't even let her fly junior until she could fly the whole pattern. I was like, no. She goes, I can win a trophy. I'm like, I don't care if you win a trophy or not. It ain't about that. If you can't fly the pattern, I'm not going to allow you to fly for junior.
Yeah.
And now she understands that at the time she just wanted a trophy. She didn't want to earn it, or anything. She just, wow, I get this big trophy, And I'm like, nah, it's, if you can't fly when you fly the whole pattern and you build an airplane, we'll let you fly in junior. And she did it. She won it, 3 times?
What we do, Steve, isn't perfect. Even after how many years? 70?
It's not. And it's either you do it and you accept it. And I don't care what it is, you can always make it better and you can always make it worse, no matter what.
Well, that's why I took to heart what Bob Hunt told me. Just keep practicing, keep flying until you do it good enough, they can't deny you.
Right.
Right.
Let me interrupt you guys. First, let me say hi to Robert Whitley. Thank you for coming in, Robert.
Hello. Hey,
Now we have
Robert.
2 Canadians in here. And let me get back to the chat box. Brent Williams has a comment, and he's I think he's alongside with you, John Miller. He says, just drop the BOM for all classes and move on. The rising crop of flyers do not give a crap about the BOM, period.
He's right.
Yeah, he's right.
Thank you, Brent.
It'll fade. It'll fade one day, but maybe not. You know, I mean, hell, they're struggling to get judges and all this. They were afraid that the AMA was going to dissolve Pampa and just, you know, I mean, how many more years of losing flyers and judges and all this is it going to take?
Yeah, it's
next year.
Look at what's
go off.
Look what's happening west or east of the Mississippi. Most of the clubs there, in their club contest, are not flying BOM. You know, you fly what you bring, and they could give a darn whether you've got an arc, you built your own, you scratch build it, or you know.
The only test that has the BOM is the age categories match. That's the only contest in the Cosmos that I know of.
You're right.
The Open has BOM. So does Advanced.
Age
senior.
Open is an age class. Junior, senior at the National, the only ones that have
expert is the age class. Open is
expert is not an age class.
No.
There's beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert. And then
those are skill class, none of which have the builder of the model rule.
No.
You're right. You don't get points. You don't get the appearance points if you didn't build the model. That's what the problem is. You go into a contest and somebody that's just starting out and wanting to fly intermediate or advanced is already 15 points behind. You know, they're not.
Well, they won't be 15 points. The highest Samantha got
15.
got 14 points.
Yeah.
That's the highest she ever got.
Shit, I could have beat Paul Walker if I'd had those 15 points.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody's thinking that way. You're looking at guys that are flying intermediate.
But she was, you know, she had to give up 3 points or 4 points on some, you know.
On those you could.
The one advanced flyer, I think, got a 19 that one year, and it was a beautiful airplane. And Samantha was down a bunch of points, but without the points, I mean, it was the first year she flew in advance. She wasn't going to beat him anyway. And I forget who it was, but she wasn't going to. But she felt bad. Yeah, I go in with a deficit of 4 points every time, or 5 points, or whatever it was. And I'm like, build a better airplane, I guess now, you know.
Right.
If the rules change, then we won't worry about it later.
I want to go to the after party. But I want to first comment on the show. I'm looking at the graph, and this show has maintained pretty well its viewership for the whole show. So I want to congratulate you guys on that. That's I can see the graph is markedly more level than the other shows I can remember. So thank you very much. We really did a good job as retaining our audience. Matter of fact, our average watch time was 19 minutes, 17 seconds, excuse me. So anyway, so thank you very much. We had a good show. And I want to just close this out. We're not going to stop. We're just going to stop the stream. And there are some people that are going to come in after I end the stream because they like the after party. Anyways, today's Monday, Martin Luther King Day. We'll be back Friday. So maybe if you go flying, go in your shop, maybe come back with some show and tells or what you've been doing. And we will see you again Friday. And Howard, I love your show, Howard. Thank you very much. And with that, good night.